Celebrities. Are they good? Are they special? Are they important? Do they hold an intrinsic responsibility to use their powerful voice for political change? I certainly have my opinion. The concept of celebrities is as old as time. Beatlemania was something new. It was something unique. And while it may have been the catalyst for how we see modern day celebrities, we have to go much further back. Some might even consider Jesus to be the original celebrity. The way he had a gang of apostles and civilian followers at his side at all times. My man even got executed by the state because he was so famous. However, he's still not the first. We must go further. 400 years before Jesus was born, a man in the hustle and bustle of the Aegean Sea, a growing empire rich in democracy and philosophy, was executed. Not for robbing the state bank, not for murdering an innocent Athenian merchant, but rather for corrupting the youth, teaching the youth of Athens to think for themselves and to question authority. From its inception, celebrity was achieved through the ever-changing concept of a counterculture, not the status quo. Celebrity has always been and will forever be guided by the need for something new, a counterpoint to prevailing societal doctrines and commonly held beliefs. Fast forward to 2023, and Brittany Broski, you know, the kombucha girl?
No. Well,
finds herself in some hot water. However, it's not for corrupting the youth, but rather for not corrupting the youth. 2 months ago now, on August 22nd, this is what Broski had to say about corrupting the youth.
If you have a platform and you have people's ear, you have their attention, how dare you not? How dare you not sing about things that matter? How dare you not show things that are hard to watch for some people and hard to embrace for more people? How dare you not do that? It is a responsibility that you have.
And now, in November 2023, the time has come to corrupt the youth. Palestine is currently under siege after a month of being carpet bombed. The mainstream American belief: Israel is just defending themselves. We must rid this terrorist organization from the face of the earth by any means necessary. Palestinians are innocent. We can all agree on that. Terrorists even were innocent at one point or another. Yet their socioeconomic condition brought on by the Israeli apartheid state has caused them to seek last-ditch efforts for freedom. Violent resistance. 13,000 Palestinians have been killed. 30,000 have been injured. 50% of the casualties are younger than 18 years old. 75% of the casualties are children, women, and the elderly. If the youth is being taught that this is what's right, now is the perfect time to corrupt the youth. However, after a month of silence on the topic, it seems like Broski no longer wants to corrupt the youth.
Segment to put at the beginning of next week's podcast episode, addressing the situation in the Middle East. What dystopian universe? Sorry, it's not funny, but it's absurd. What dystopian universe do I have to address the situation in the Middle East at the top of a podcast episode? It is literally the scene from Inside by Bo Burnham. Who are you, wheat thins? Do you stand with the Palestinians? That's how I fucking, it is, in what universe am I a voice to speak on this? I am the opposite of the person that should be speaking on this. But because I have a check mark and I have over 1 million, immediately I'm qualified.
Someone she used to consider a close friend leaked this video, and it made its way to TikTok.
Just when I thought white creators couldn't be more out of touch, Brittany Broski, of all people on the internet, has decided to share how she feels about the Palestinian genocide on her close friend's story, not thinking that people would see it. Basically, a little background. Brittany Broski does like a weekly podcast, and she's just like going about her podcast as if Palestine isn't like burning and thousands aren't dying. And so people were getting validly upset, saying like, hey, it's kind of weird that you're just like going about your life making this podcast when you have a huge audience and not addressing like the genocide in Palestine. And before you ask, why does everybody have to talk about it? Because there's a genocide happening. It's like, your funny jokes can wait. There's a genocide happening. So please watch this video. I'm sick.
However, many people came out in support for Broski.
I'm going to say something a little controversial. Heads up. But I think it's a little weird. We continually, during every single major event, continually ask influencers and corporations about their opinions on what is happening in major global conflicts. It's weird. Because do you honestly think Brittany Broski is qualified to talk and distribute information related to a global event that requires accuracy in its reporting? It's no shade to Brittany. Brittany is not specialized in covering major global conflicts, as most influencers are not. Okay? So to be relying on them to validate your viewpoints or to validate whatever's going on is insane.
And then another person had something to say.
I'm going to say something even more controversial. When Roe v. Wade was getting overturned, if I said I wasn't qualified to speak on women's reproductive rights and use my platform to spread awareness, what would the reaction be? Or during the Black Lives Matter movement, if I said I'm not qualified to talk about the racial injustice that is happening to millions of people across our country, what would the reaction be? There's this amazing social activist on TikTok who said this quote that I think is really important. If you have a platform and you have people's ear, you have their attention, how dare you not speak about the things that matter? Brittany Broski. Nobody is saying that the issue is that Brittany Broski hasn't given a full 2-hour seminar on the Nakba in the long-standing conflict between Israel and Palestine. No one's saying that. The issue is that it's hypocritical to only talk about issues that affect you directly, and when they're affecting millions of people around the world, you stay silent. And the original creator in that stitch is Maya. Maya is a friend of mine, and the amount of hate that she's getting for calling out Brittany Broski is absolutely disgusting. In what parallel universe that I step into when a Palestinian creator calls out a large white creator who's been silent for a month about a mass genocide taking place against her people, that she now gets called out and she now is receiving a ton of hate for this? What are we doing? And to the point that, oh, you guys are calling out large corporations and large creators asking about their stance on political issues. This isn't political. There's this notion and this idea that what's happening in Gaza right now is somehow political. It's not. Stop attacking Palestinian creators for holding large corporations and celebrities accountable when they're silent about the genocide of their people.
Personally, I have to agree with the last TikTok. No one expects her to switch places with Hassan Abi and discuss Palestine all day, every day for a month. No one asked for that. All people wanted her to say was free Palestine and at least talk about it for like 2 minutes. Enough to express that, hey, if Britney cares enough about it to mention it on her non-political show, it must be so important that I should also care about it. That is a massive achievement for a very minimal amount of effort. Many other comedy TikTokers have broken character in the past month to come out and express their support for Palestine.
What's going on, guys? I know I usually make funny videos, but today I want to use my platform to amplify the voices in Palestine.
You don't need to go to school for geopolitics to understand when bad things are happening. So eventually, with enough people speaking out against her silence, Brittany finally made an apology.
I wanted to give a full, robust, well thought out, thoughtful response on my podcast, because that's my biggest platform and I was going to utilize my biggest platform. But this video kind of takes precedence. Really quick, I'd like to address it here. I completely understand why so many people are upset with me. I completely understand the weight of having a platform and the power of that platform and the power of silence when you have a platform. I've even spoken about this. Of course I understand. My silence hurt and confused a lot of people who love and support me, and for that, I can't tell you how sorry I am. Not in the business of making excuses. I'm really not. I'm also not in the business of virtue signaling. I waited too long to to talk about Palestine. I will admit that. And it's for X, Y, and Z reason. No one cares. But the important thing is to talk about it now. Of course I support the liberation of Palestinian people. Of course I do. These people have no access to food, water, medicine. It is a living hell. We are actively living through a historic humanitarian crisis. But in my mind, I was like, people don't need me to tell them that. In this video she's referencing, which is a screen recording of my close friends who I don't know, that's a separate issue. I'm talking about how absurd and dystopian it is to look to people who look like me, first of all, for news and opinions and thoughts on what's happening in Palestine. I was voicing my confusion with the situation that I find myself in. You know, like having a platform and all this. No one teaches you how to use it. And the best that you can do is speak from the heart. And that's what I try to do. I'm also acutely aware that I'm a white woman and my voice is not needed. It's just not in a lot of spaces. That close friends video, as embarrassing and humiliating as it is, shouldn't have made it, is a human moment for me. I was feeling confused as to why the fuck I have a platform to begin with. And second of all, the shame that comes from not using it properly and potentially speaking over or for people, spreading misinformation, making an already awful situation worse. There's a fear there. And no one gives a fuck about my fear, obviously, and I'm not centering myself. All of that to say, I know we have been experiencing a collective sense of helplessness, of hopelessness. And to that, I would say, as Americans, we live in an albeit flawed, a democracy. We live in a democracy where we have direct access to the phone numbers and emails and ears of our elected officials. I urge you, if you have not already, to contact your elected officials. I've been berating them. If you feel misrepresented, if you feel underrepresented in foreign affairs, I think that is truly one of the only ways to see actionable change. I'm going to put a phone number down here where you can contact your senators and your congressmen. There are scripts available online that you can follow to voice your concerns. I'm also going to include a link to Doctors Without Borders if you'd like to join me in donating. Again, it shouldn't have taken me this long. I'll be the first fucking person to admit that. It should not have taken me this long to say something. And the something I want to say is free Palestine. And call your senators. And I'm going to talk about this more on my podcast later this week. Thanks, guys.
The biggest issue for me with what she said is that in some instances, a white woman's voice is incredibly important in some discussions, especially in a white supremacist country like America. I get how white voices are already overabundant in a lot of conversations, and thus they're pretty unneeded and unwanted. However, when you're speaking up for a marginalized group of people, a group of people that is not heard from, or not listened to, your voice becomes incredibly powerful and incredibly valuable. I do understand Brittany's confusion, or at least her fear in coming out and discussing this topic. The thing about Israel, and the thing that makes this conversation a bit tricky for a lot of Americans to talk about, is that Americans love equating Judaism with Zionism, two concepts that couldn't be more different. I grew up around Christianity, one of the Abrahamic religions, alongside Judaism and Islam. If I could boil down all the teachings I ever learned in Christianity, and thus in all the Abrahamic religions, because they are incredibly similar, is to treat your neighbor with peace and love. Therefore, from the inception of Israel, Israel has been the antithesis of the Abrahamic religions. Do you think Jesus became so famous by saying that homosexuality is bad? By saying that you can't bone until you're married? No, he became a celebrity because he loved everyone unconditionally. So no, the Israeli apartheid, the ongoing genocide of Palestinians, is the antithesis of Judaism.
My Jewish values teach me to oppose apartheid.
But because of American propaganda and the Israeli propaganda ingrained within it, I do understand how someone with a big platform may be afraid to speak on the topic, or more so speak over someone or say something wrong that harms the cause. The important thing and the lesson we can all take away from this is that it's never too late to speak up. It's never too late to be vocal. It's never too late to learn new information and change your mind. It may take longer for some people, but eventually you'll care enough about it that you want to ensure that other people care as much about it as you do. I'm just happy to know that Broski is a supporter of Palestine. It just took a little longer than it should have. I just hope that more and more powerful voices realize how powerful their voice really is and start using it for social change. Thank you for watching this video and for using your voice, no matter how powerful, to speak up for those who go unheard. Free Palestine and peace and love.